Hey, you have a choice coming up? Big choice, little choice? Maybe you're just choosing between whether to have Snapple or flavored water? Well, God knows everything we need. And He knows everything we want. And He wants to be involved in that decision-making process. And so we ask for His advice, but how do we know it's really Him speaking? This is one of 5 videos from Wednesday Night Live's God's FAQs, a series where we answered 5 questions that you had about God. And this video answers the question, well, we at least seek to answer the question, how do we know it's God's voice we're hearing? And there are a few steps you need to take. You need to remember that even though God knows exactly what's best for you between these two things, neither one's probably the best for me. There's probably one that's better for me, but either way. Even though all these little decisions, what to eat for breakfast, God has a hand in, when it comes to little stuff, He tends to let us sweat the details. But on the really big stuff, the stuff where you interact with other people, where your heart is shown to other people, where your testimony of what He is, who He is shown to other people, that's the stuff that we really need to make sure that we're following Him on. And there are a few ways we can know for certain that we're hearing His voice. One is prayer. A lot of time in prayer. Not just, God, give me a direction, but actually listening. And a lot of prayer, like I said, a lot. Not just, oh, I prayed for a minute and a half, and that's my hour. Spend time searching the Scriptures. Point came up in discussion that if it contradicts Scripture, it's probably not God's voice. Great way to look at it. Now, there is stuff that Scripture is silent on. There are topics that Scripture does not speak about. But basic moral principles do come into play. A lot of things you can find help with in Scripture, either examples of people who did it and got screwed up, or people who did make the choice, the kind of choice you're going to make, and were blessed because of it. A lot of helpful stuff in Scripture. Like I said, not just open it up and, well, that has no bearing on my situation, so Scripture has nothing to do with it. Not that. A lot of time in Scripture. Spend time seeking the counsel of other wise Christians, especially those who have been in your situation before. They have been there. They know what to do. They know what not to do. And odds are they're going to give you solid advice. Don't just look to them to give you advice that's actually just agreeing with what you want to do in any situation. Actually listen to their advice and take it. Do what they suggest. In concert with prayer and Scripture, of course. Also, use the basic wisdom God blessed you with. Make some pros and cons lists. See what what kind of outcomes you would be looking at. If it's, hey, I think God's calling me to go ahead and get married. What's it look like? What kind of things do you need to plan for? Those kinds of things. Use your brains. God gave them to you for a reason. Circumstances can have a big impact on directing what God's looking for us or in us. Don't go by circumstances alone, but if God's directing you down a path, doors will open regardless. Another great thing that will come with following God is He'll give you peace. Your soul will be peaceful, will be content. You'll have a kind of a, it sounds a little new agey and a little fluffy, but honestly, you'll feel peace about the situation. You'll know that God's in control, and you'll trust what He does, what He wants you to do. Take a few moments, or a lot, several, and just walk through and imagine, what would it look like if the rest of the church made the same decision you're trying to make? What if they went the same way you're leaning toward? For instance, what would it look like if the entire church decided that it was okay to cheat on their taxes? Well, a lot of churches get shut down because a lot of churches wind up in jail. Jail must be up. What would it look like if the rest of the church decided they were going to go ahead and click on that enter tab and go spend a lot of time at a porn site? What would it look like if everyone in the world could see what you were doing? How would that impact and affect your testimony for God? Would it strengthen it? Or would it show the world that you really aren't lining up with your convictions? So take all these things together, all these steps together, combine them. Don't just pick one or two. Do them all. Work through them all, especially for the huge decisions. And hey, if you need more help, you can always ask me. If you're around, you can get a hold of me digitally or in person. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's been very helpful to you. Like I said early at the beginning, this is one of 5, so look for the other 4 sometime. And I'll catch you on the web.